All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Nancy Bryan, and I thank all of you for being here tonight. It's extra special when people take their time out to learn about things that might make a difference in their wellness. So thank you so much for being part of this. I want to thank Becky. We have a continual quest to try to figure out this Zoom thing, and you'll have to pardon our dust, so to speak, because we're still learning. We're still trying to figure out exactly what Zoom means and how it all works. But the bottom line is we're here tonight because we want to help make a difference in people's wellness, and that's a focus for both Becky and I. So thank you for being here. First of all, as I said before, my name is Dr. Nancy Bryan. I am a pharmacist. I'm a biochemist, and I basically formulate medicinals and nutritionals for animals and for humans. I'm also a certified diabetic educator. And so for many years, I've had a lot of areas of pharmacy that I've dealt in. And through that time frame, I've learned a lot about pursuing wellness. And I've also learned through a long period of time that that may not necessarily mean through pharmaceuticals. Although they can be necessary at times, they can be helpful at times. Sometimes we get to a point where we're using so many of those that we're not able to help our body truly be well. So our hope tonight is that we're going to be able to share some information with people, and my mission has always been to not only share information in terms of wellness for people, but to empower people to have that wellness information to share with others. Because then it's not just dependent upon myself or just a few people, but all of us sharing that information. So first and foremost, I guess the best part for me is to be able to start where my journey started. And that was when I first started as a pharmacist. I actually worked for a pharmaceutical company, and I learned a lot about studies during that time. I learned a lot about going into doctors' offices and sharing information with them. And then through the years, I left that job and started my own long-term care nursing business, and for many years went out to nursing homes and had a lot of opportunity to see a lot of people come in on a lot of pharmaceutical products, and realized that many times many of the doctors didn't communicate. And so they were on a lot of medications, and my role at that time, along with the pharmacy team that I had, was to take people off medications. As that happened, I would see many people be able to improve in their health, and a lot of times they were needing good nutrition and water, and a lot of times a lot of the pharmaceutical agents were able to be taken away or at least reduced. And so that kind of started my mission in terms of wanting to be able to take a look at what things did really help make a difference for people. Through that time frame, we moved out to Phoenix. I moved to a place where I found out health is really a significant thing for people, much more so, I guess, because we can be outside all of the time. And so during that time frame, I pursued looking into a lot of nutrients and found out a lot of things. One of the things I learned early on was about antioxidants. And this was a long time ago, long before it was in our cereals and our milkshakes and all the things that you hear about it being in now. And at that point in time, when people talked about an antioxidant and I would discuss it, they had no idea what I meant. And the terminology antioxidant at that time meant something that was against oxidation. And what they knew back then, and that science back then, was that there was some kind of oxidative process that was happening in our body that was causing damage. And so at that point in time, our information was there were fruits and vegetables and things, vitamin C, things like that that could make a significant difference. And so as I journeyed through that path, I thought that I was doing all those things. I exercised regularly. In fact, I exercised a lot, and I was really healthy, I thought. And then in 2008, I kind of had the rug pulled out from under me. At that point in time, what happened is I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And I have to tell you that that came as a shock to me. During the time frame that I was diagnosed, I was probably, in my mind, the most physically fit I had been in a long time. I was eating really well. My weight was ideal. I worked out a ton. What I didn't realize was that my body was not handling its oxidative stress. And those are things that we're going to talk a little bit about today. And so fast forward, I went through several surgeries. I went through chemotherapy. And during that time frame, as I continued to try to eat healthy and do the things I thought I should be doing, I ended up with a melanoma. And for those of you that have ever been out to Phoenix, it is impossible to stay away from the sun. You're in the sun when you drive your car. You're in the sun when you go to the mailbox. You're in the sun. And it sounds like a bad thing in terms of being able to see sunshine that much. I really do enjoy it. But when you have a melanoma, you suddenly are afraid to death that every time you're in the sun for any minute of any day, something bad's going to happen. And so that really got me actively pursuing information with regard to skin cancer. I also at that time was having a lot of things cut and burned off me. I had to go every 3 months to the skin dermatology oncologist. And for 5 years, I continued to have things cut and burned off me. And I have to tell you, it was the most frustrating time for me in terms of trying to figure out nutrition and trying to figure out what it was that I was doing wrong. Well, the reality was it wasn't that I was doing something wrong. The reality was that my body was not doing something that it should be doing. And that happens to each one of us as we start aging. Our bodies stop making their own antioxidants. So while I was taking lots of blueberries and goji juice and all kinds of other things, it still wasn't enough to really handle the kind of stress that was occurring in my body. And as a result of that, I had gene expression that created breast cancer and skin cancer. So what happened? The first thing that I ran across, I had heard from a friend of mine who was out in California. He had been to a conference and he begged me to take a look at some studies from Louisiana State University. And so I promised him I'd take a look. And in the meantime, I have a daughter who's a veterinarian. She practices veterinary medicine in Kentucky, for all you Kentucky friends out there. And she gave me a call because she had a pet that had a tumor and it was so bad it could not be operated on. And so she was knowing she was going to have to put this pet asleep. And a few weeks after she had sent the owner home, she realized she had not heard back from them. So she called the family because she thought she was probably going to be giving them condolences. And the reality of it was that pet was actually doing okay. It had actually started eating again because a neighbor of this person had handed her this bottle, and it was called Canine Health. And that pet started taking the product, and for some reason it seemed like his tail started wagging a little more, and he started to be a little bit more interested in food. And over a 3 or 4 week span of time, he seemed to be doing well. Well, this was a shock to my daughter. She could not understand how that would be even possible. And so she asked the pet owner to bring the pet in. When she brought the pet into the office, as a major surprise to my daughter, she had found that the tumor had gone from the jaw to the middle of the chin down to about the size of a pea. And she had no explanation for this. So she called me. She said, "Mom, you know what? I know I don't know anything about herbs or anything about natural stuff. Would you take a look at this? I want you to investigate it." Well, that was the very same day that my friend had called me from California. And very quickly, I realized that the two companies were one and the same. One of them was for human and one of them was for veterinary. And that was really intriguing to me that it happened all within about an hour of each other. And so at that point in time, my friend had sent me a video. And when he sent me that video, he wanted me to watch the video. And so I thought, you know what? I think I better watch the video. This seems like something I'm supposed to be looking at. And so what we'd like to do right now is we would like to show you the video that I saw. I want you to see the video the way that I saw it. And then when we're finished watching the video, we'll talk a little bit more about what happened.
You want to get an edge on turning back the clock with just a few pills? Who doesn't? Well, it's no longer science fiction, but science possibility, a potential breakthrough. As I found out firsthand, there may be a way to erase years, at least inside my body. Granted, it's down the road, but some scientists are wondering if a new pill I took might offer a very long life. It may not look like the fountain of youth, but inside this nondescript building, I'm about to become part of an exciting experiment, a kind of guinea pig.
Dr. McCord, okay.
I'm here at the University of Colorado in Denver to meet Dr. Joe McCord, a world-renowned scientist.
This is pretty exciting stuff you're finding, huh?
It is. We're very excited about it.
His latest research could very well unravel the mystery of aging itself. And his decades of experiments may have the potential of adding years to people's lives and possibly prevent chronic diseases like cancer, diabetes, and heart disease. It all centers around this small yellow pill, and for me, it begins with a blood test.
Can you scoop? Yeah, there we go.
It wouldn't be the first time I've given blood for this company.
They want to check my levels of something called T-bars, which is a rough indicator of a person's actual age. T-bars can identify a condition known as oxidative stress, a kind of measure of the wear and tear on our bodies. Oxidative stress, like the rusting of an engine, is not a good thing.
Bad for the body.
Leading to disease.
Leading to disease and leading to malfunction, and importantly, leading to what we call aging. It is a slow progression of increasing oxidative stress. That's the main characteristic biochemically of the aging process.
The problem of aging begins with the very food we eat to give us energy. As our cells burn that food, they also release toxic chemicals. Those chemicals, you may know them as free radicals, react with all the components of our cells, literally bombarding them millions of times per second, damaging all our cells. The result? Oxidative stress, and we all have it. The body fights back with a system of defenses. It makes two antioxidant enzymes, catalase and SOD, whose job is to gobble up the free radicals before they can harm our cells. But as we get older, some of those toxic radicals overwhelm our enzymes and wreak their havoc. For a long time, scientists thought that antioxidant vitamins like C and E would lower it, but they don't.
As it's turned out in just the last 5 years or so, we see that they're not good enough tools. They're not powerful enough.
But this pill, he says, is powerful enough. In fact, many times more powerful.
So, doctor, how often do I take these?
And so, here I go. With that swallow, I've just become part of a potentially landmark scientific experiment.
Doesn't taste bad.
It's called Protandim, and tests on both mice and humans have already shown that it revs up the manufacture of those good enzymes in our bodies. More enzymes, fewer free radicals to harm us. Whether that will lead to longer life is still unknown. Experiments to see if mice live longer are about to get underway, but it's a tantalizing theory.
Right now, all we know is that this preparation decreases oxidative stress. Oxidative stress is not a disease, just like aging is not in itself a disease, but it's something that accompanies and is attached to many disease processes.
Have you discovered the fountain of youth?
I wouldn't put it that way, but we may have discovered something that will tell us a lot more about how we age, what happens biochemically, and maybe how we can slow it down. So you can see the age-related.
Normally, oxidative stress, measured by those T-bars, increases with age. But in Dr. McCord's tests, taking just one pill of Protandim a day reversed that trend for everyone at every age, even for an 80-year-old.
They all are reduced to the level of oxidative stress that one would expect, frankly, in a newborn or a very young child.
Back to the oxidative stress levels of a child? It sounds too good to be true. Will Protandim work on me? Well, perhaps. It turns out there is some other promising evidence that seems to back up Dr. McCord's findings. That evidence comes from mice that have been genetically engineered to produce more catalase, one of the enzymes that Protandim increases. The researcher, Dr. Douglas Wallace of the University of California at Irvine, says it had a remarkable effect.
We found that they lived, in fact, about 20% longer, which is about a fifth of a lifespan.
He believes that with better techniques, human lifespan can eventually be extended too.
We might be able to increase the lifespan of a mammal by 50%. And of course, if that was a human being, then that might be in the order of 130 to 150 years.
The scientific evidence is there. The pieces seem to make sense. The question is, does this translate into something that humans can take advantage of?
So, just what's in this seemingly incredible pill? Well, actually, its roots are very humble. Protandim is a combination of 5 plant ingredients. Some you may know: green tea or turmeric, a spice used in Indian cooking. Others, Withania somnifera and Silybum marianum, are more exotic.
There's a huge human experience with each of these ingredients. They've been used often in traditional medicine in India and China and many other cultures, in some cases centuries and centuries.
And so, ancient Eastern healing and modern Western medicine may soon be working together. High oxidative stress is associated with more than aging. It's been linked to hundreds of illnesses.
It's at the very center of many diseases: liver disease, diabetes, emphysema, asthma. I've studied all of these: strokes, heart attacks.
Even mental disease.
Yes.
Depression?
Alzheimer's disease, depression.
Dr. James Crapo with the National Jewish Medical Center in Denver is also researching Protandim for the company.
Are you saying that this could be a cure-all?
You're looking at something will have a small impact, but an important impact.
We make no claims about curing any disease or preventing any disease. We hope that when enough studies are done, perhaps such claims might be able to be made in the future.
Clinical studies to assess Protandim in both diabetes and heart disease should start in 3 to 4 months. But what about everyone's old nemesis, aging itself? Well, it's all about balance between the good antioxidants and those toxic free radicals.
And if we can tip that back, we may reduce some of the bad side effects of aging. Why my skin is different than that of a baby, for example. That's a very obvious part of the aging process.
Will this prevent wrinkles?
Well, you don't want to make false claims about something. But could it produce wrinkles? It's always possible.
But what about my progress? After nearly 2 weeks now, it's time to get my results. Dr. McCord calculates the numbers. The result? My level of oxidative stress has declined dramatically.
45%, that's excellent.
Just look at where I fall on the graph, before and after.
Which, if extrapolated back, is the level you would see in a newborn baby.
Have we turned back the clock? Well, maybe not on the outside, but deep inside within my cells. Yes, indeed.
Would you suggest I keep taking this supplement?
I would. I can't guarantee it's going to extend your life. I can't guarantee it's going to eliminate any diseases or cure any diseases.
But we do know that oxidative stress is part of those disease processes. I don't want to wait until I'm 80 years old and find out that I should have taken it.
The company that makes Protandim says its tests show the pill, made from ingredients used for centuries, is absolutely safe. But because it's being sold as a nutritional supplement and not a drug, Protandim does not need FDA approval for safety. For more, go to our website at abcnews.com. You want to get an edge on
Okay, so that was the video that I saw, and hopefully you can hear me. Becky, can everyone hear me? Yes, that's a thumbs up. Good job, thanks. So that was the video I saw, and I can remember thinking to myself, wow, I knew enough about biochemistry to know about those enzymes that they talked about and to know how important they were. And I thought that's pretty interesting that there's something that you could actually physically take that would increase those enzymes. But my second thought was, well, if it's that good, why is it that everybody doesn't know about it? That was done in 2005. And so I started asking some questions and taking a look at what was going on with the company. And the thing that I found out when I was looking into this was that, you know what? This company was run by a group of scientists. Their job was to discover how this product was working and to utilize this product. And they weren't expecting the response that they had from that video. They had so many sales, it took them over 8 months to try to supply to all the people that were calling from that initial video. The problem was they could not get the information out to people, and they tried to put it out on shelves in GNC and out to CVS. And basically what happened is it sat on the shelf because people could not understand the difference between vitamin C as an antioxidant and what this product could do. But there was people in the audience watching. There were scientists and doctors that had been doing research, and they knew and understood. And when they saw this video, they were very excited because they knew the processes. They just had not found anything that did those sorts of responses. And as a result of that, many studies started taking place. And now we fast forward, and that was what brought me to the day when I saw that video, a chance to look at some studies. The first one I looked at was from Louisiana State University about skin cancer. And when I took a look at that, the mechanism of action that it was discussing and what they had seen by painting toxins on mice and having half of the mice die, the half of the population of mice that did not receive Protandim, they all died. And the other half there were a few of them that did still develop cancer, but they all were able to continue living and surviving. And that really was a huge impact to me. And so I thought to myself, I don't know if, like some of the doctors in the video, I don't know if it's going to help me or not, but to me it was worth taking. And so I decided, I'm going to start trying to take this product. And when I received it, as I started taking it within the first week, I right away started having a few things happen. I started sleeping better. The biggest thing I remember is that I woke up in the morning and I just felt happy. I know that sounds crazy, and I know a lot about placebo from prescription things, and I thought, well, maybe I'm just making myself feel good. I don't know, but I felt good, and I didn't really care why, because it had been a long time since I really remember feeling that. And as time went on, I had another visit with my dermatology office. I had to go every 3 months. And after 5 years of getting things cut and burned off me, I was anxious to see what was going to happen again. Every time I went into that office, I was always so frustrated. And when I went into that office that time, I told the doctor, I said, I'm taking something new and I'm really hoping I have really good results. And I don't know if it was my imagination, but it seemed like he went over me from head to toe like a baboon looking for fleas. And he was looking over me and looking over me. And he said, well, things look pretty good. He actually did not find anything. And I literally left the office. And the first thing I did was call my husband. I was so excited. And I thought, well, maybe it's just coincidence. You just don't know for sure. And so I continued taking it. I continued feeling better. And I knew that it was not something that was going to work immediately. The damage in my body didn't occur overnight. But over a period of time, the better I felt, the more I thought, I had a few friends that came in my mind. And one in particular was a friend of mine that had a daughter with autism. And I don't know why, but her name kept coming up in my head. And I thought, I need to call Arlene. When I called her, the first thing she said to me was, I don't know what you're calling me about, but please get over here. I'm in a crisis. And so I immediately went over, and I brought with me a bottle of Protandim, and I sat down with her, and she shared with me that her daughter had been put on some heavy medications for behavior because she had been getting worse and worse. And as a result, she was starting to act out so greatly she had to wear a helmet and a straitjacket. And this was tearing their family apart. They had tried very hard to keep their daughter out of a facility, and she was now 20 years old, and Arlene didn't want to give up. So I took a look at her medications, and with my pharmacist background, it was easy for me to decide that this was not going to interfere with her medications, and we started her on the Protandim. It was a very short period of time, I would say inside the week, that she stopped hurting herself, and we were able to start taking the helmet off and the straitjacket off. What surprised me more than that, though, was that over a period of about 3 to 4 months, we continued to watch Adrienne get better and better, and I was able to help her to get off those medications. And so, although we're not supposed to make any claims about being able to treat, medicate, or cure diseases, I can tell you that it had a profound effect on her. And one of the things that happened after about 4 months, they had Thanksgiving come along, and they had taken some pictures, and a couple of the other kids in the family took a look and said, "Mom, you have to see the difference in the picture of what Adrienne looked like the last time we were all together and what she looks like now. It's like night and day." And so they actually took that picture and they sent it over to me, and it was astounding. And the thing that you noticed was that Adrienne now was more engaged in her life. She looked alive. She looked happy. She was smiling. And at that point, Arlene and I decided, you know what, maybe this is something that we need to be sharing with more of the autism families, because this was making such a profound statement in their family and allowing them to have a little bit more freedom again and not be so tied down to their house, and to be able to have Adrienne get back into school. And so from there, we decided that, you know what, maybe this was a company that we needed to take a look at. About that same time, I went to a meeting. I had not been to any of the large meetings that they had, and they had a large meeting here in town. And when I was walking into that meeting, I was walking behind a young lady that I could tell was walking very slowly but very deliberately. And when I had a chance to meet her, her name is Kim. She was someone that had actually been in a wheelchair due to multiple sclerosis. And she had started taking this product several months prior, and really kind of against the odds, she kept saying she was feeling stronger and stronger. And she eventually got to a point where she said, you know, I think I can get out of this chair. And one of the things that was the most fascinating to me was there were a couple of weeks ago when we did our meeting, Kim had texted me. I had wanted to have her on the video, and she had texted me. She was in Paris. Her and her husband had gone to Paris and Amsterdam, and she was elated. She had been walking 10 hours a day, yes, somewhat with the help of her husband, but she had been there a week, and she had not had to take her cane out of her suitcase. And I can't tell you, when you hear those kinds of stories for people, it's something that does significantly change their lives. And so kind of back to the science of this, what we've learned now moving forward is there's lots of studies out there. And what we've found out is that Protandim is something called a NRF2 activator. What NRF2 activation is, this is a pathway. And when they talked about those antioxidants that your body makes, that pathway is how we turn on to make those antioxidants when our body needs them. And so that's what Protandim does. It's a NRF2 activation. And what makes it so special is the fact that there's drug companies out there trying to duplicate it. There's other nutritional companies out there. They already know that this is a huge pathway to health. And the thing that's unique is that we have a product that's patented. It has 5 ingredients that were blended in a very special way. And the way that they're blended, each individual product does not have enough potency, if a naturopath were to look at it, to really make a significant impact on symptoms or health. But when those 5 ingredients are put together, they act synergistically. They work together, and they're 1,800 times stronger than each of those individual elements. And as a result of that, that switch turns on. But the magic part is that not only does it turn on, but it turns on and off as we need it. And that's what makes it so special. When the pharmaceutical companies try to copy it, they make chemicals that flow in one direction. The chemistry is one way. And the only way to get it to go the other way is by taking another drug to combat that side effect. The uniqueness of our body is that we are meant to be in balance. Anyone that took chemistry in high school knows we balance equations. That's what our bodies want. They want balance. And with Protandim and that Nerve2 activation, what we saw was that switch being able to go on and off. And that's, I hope you can still see me. Is everybody still there? I don't know, can everybody still see me? Yes, you're still hearing me? Good. Because I can still see you. Sorry, Becky, I hope you can still hear me. Can you guys still hear me? Yes? Yes, I see a thumbs up, good. Okay, well then I'll continue. But what I was gonna say is that those enzymes are what do make a difference. And now we're finding that those very enzymes are what helps with actually turning on and off gene expression. And we know that disease states occur when we have genes start expressing that shouldn't. When those genes start expressing that shouldn't, what happens is there's all kinds of disease states that occur. And when the disease states occur, it's very difficult for our body to get back in balance. And that's what all these different companies try to do. They keep trying to treat these symptoms. And so the one thing we've learned a lot about in the last few years through studies is that the Nerve2 pathway is really, really involved with those gene expressions. And now as a result of it, they have actually renamed what our product is. And that has been a name that has been given to us and allowed to be used by the FDA. And that is called being a nutrigenomic, which means that it's a product that actually has an effect on gene expression. And that this is huge. This is really cutting edge science. And so I get more excited about it now even than when I first started with the company. And just recently, we also added another product. It's a Nerve1 activator. And what that has to do with is more about rebuilding our mitochondria. So if you think inside of a cell, just like we would have with the car, you have to have an engine that makes the car move, but you have to have a battery that keeps the engine being able to start and to move. And that's what mitochondria do. They supply our cells with energy, and that's what the Nerve1 activator does. It actually helps repair our mitochondria. It helps them to replenish so that as we get older, we have less and less mitochondria. That's why we slow down. We don't have enough battery power to keep our cells going. When we don't have enough battery power to keep our cells going, our Nerve2 pathway to take the trash out can slow down. And that's where you might see some of the disease states being started with the gene expression. So when we take the mitochondria Nerve1 activator, one thing to keep in mind is it does produce oxidative stress. When you take a look at oxidative stress being something that we're looking at as causing disease, you need to understand that as we're making mitochondria and we're repairing them, we do have some oxidative stress. That's natural in our body. That's why we developed early on in our life antioxidants to help take care of that. So it's really important if you take Nerve1 to also be on Nerve2, because the Nerve2 is going to continue to take care of that oxidative stress. But what's going to happen now is you're going to have mitochondrial health. And so when you have mitochondrial health, you're now going to have the battery power to operate your brain cells and your liver cells that have many, many more mitochondria per cell than other areas of our body. And that's why, and also in our muscles, and that's why you'll see people when they're starting to take the Nerve1, they're going to feel strong, to be able to be energized enough to be able to do what they're supposed to do. You're going to see people see their brain power and their brain function work a little better because they're having more mitochondria again to give that cell the energy it needs to make the biochemistry of the brain operate more properly. And we now know too that when we see mitochondrial damage, that's going to be what affects our genomes and may possibly be one of the reasons we're seeing gene expression to so many diseases. So keep in mind that, both of those things are working in together. And what's so unique is that neither one of them are anything that any other company has. This is really kind of a cutting edge kind of thing. And it's really exciting because we have a means of really helping to get our cells to a wellness state. And it does take time. I always tell people that you should be allowing your body to improve over time on these products. For each decade you are in life, it may take a month to start seeing better results. So if you're someone that's in your 40s or your 50s, you may not see your optimal results for 4 or 5 months. And what you have to look for is you start watching the small things and keeping a log of how things are going for you. But hopefully that'll help you understand why I've gotten excited. And now I'm to a point where with this company, I'm more excited today than I've been in a long time, because as these studies are coming forth, we just were at a conference last weekend. And remember on the movie when it talked in the video about having mice and having longer lives? Well, they did actually just complete that study with Protandim. And they actually did find that it did change significantly the mice and the length of time that they lived. And that's pretty impressive. And so these things are starting to come forth. You're going to hear more and more about it. But what we do need is we need people like you to be able to get familiar with the information and to empower yourself to know and understand the wellness and what you can do to help yourself, and to also be able to share it with other people. Because what if I wouldn't have shared it with Arlene? Last weekend when we went to our conference was the first time that family has taken a vacation. Her daughter is 21 years old, and the thing she shared with me most that I just still get goosebumps over, she shared with me a picture of her daughter sitting in the back seat of their truck on the way to Anaheim. She was laughing and she was pointing out the window at the things she was seeing out there. And I don't know what her family's life would have been like had I not shared this. So keep that in mind when you talk to people. It's about sharing the information with them. They're going to have to choose what they want to do with that information, but it is important. And I want you to know that there's many scientists like myself, cardiologists and internal medicine and other pharmacists and physical therapists. We have a group called LV Docs, and we all get together and ask each other questions and help support each other. This is something that is going to change a lot of how health is looked at. So I thank you tonight for your time, and I'd be more than happy to answer questions if there's people that have questions. But thank you so much for taking the time tonight, and I hope that this helps you to understand that this really is real and really can make a difference in your health.